Welcome back to the moment it clicks on Inval channel with Alex and Andrew. Today, viewers, we're going to have a very sparking conversation that a lot of people, my religious foes, my religious friends and family is going to have a different views. It's going to some people will come after me anyway and said I have a different views, and I want us to sit down tight, listen, and let's get the conversation. Now, it has always been I always have this thought process. What is the role of ministry in Africa? And you look at it from the ministry from Africa. Ministry is deepened from you look at it from the culture, from the cultural, look at it from spirituality, look at it from community expectation. Yes, there's a school of thought that says ministry is a family calling passed down from one generation to the next, while others argue that ministry is an individual calling. So based on personal conviction and divine selection. So now we look at it's a very both ways side. So do people go into ministry because God called them, or is it a family affair? Is it a family affair? You have the wife, the husband, the children are taking over. So all this family are strategizing around the ministry as if God selected this family, choosing this family to be in charge of affairs of his creatures on earth. So, guys, I want to hear your views. I want to see what you think, and I can see my friend Andrew's already start laughing. Andrew, what is your view?
Ministry. And are we associating it to the African culture?
Of course,
And
I mean,
if
to a certain extent, you
to
can't
a
separate
certain
culture.
extent,
You can't separate culture from
yeah, and you know, if we are associating this to the African culture, then there's going to be a lot of backlash on this thing here because it's very, very, very touching to a lot of people. But I do believe it's an individual calling. It's an individual calling because I cannot personally sit here and say it's a family calling because of a lot of ministers have their whole family integrated into the ministry. But I can understand from a certain point why they do that. But it's definitely a personal calling. Now, me and you sitting here today, we don't. How are we going to know whether the rest of the family have been called into the ministry, or it's just a personal decision that they've made to induct them all into the ministry?
Okay, let's yeah, thank you for so let's dive into a little bit from the biblical and traditional precedent. You see, in the Bible, priesthood often followed family heritage, such as the Levitical priesthood, Numbers 18:1-7, and the
Are
family
we are we
based.
quoting the Bible? Are we
Yeah,
quoting the
yes,
Bible?
I'm giving you where I'm taking this
Where you are taking
argument.
this?
I'm taking this
Okay.
argument for. So I'm doing that from the priesthood. So such as Levitical priesthood. So we look at number 18:1-7, the family-based ministry of Eli and Simon. Yeah. So many African tradition, religious practices also follow this for spiritual leadership, where priesthood or chieftaincy is passed down within a family. Yeah.
Yeah.
So some argue that ministry should remain within families to preserve spiritual heritage, just like royal families. We have like in England, we have royal families. So the royal passed down from one royalty
Yeah.
from within the family. So
To the
that is
next.
how there's two. That's how some Africans still see religion. They still see it as a family heritage thing. So
Yeah.
continuing so families involved in ministry for generation develop deep knowledge, network, experience in a spiritual leadership. But now the question now is it now this is where the culture I mentioned about the culture coming in. So now the religion of thing now has been translated to become a culture to allow that culture will be like This allows smooth leadership, ensuring stability, continuity in churches and religion. So the people that does this similar thing are Catholic. Catholic does a similar thing like this because Catholic, you have a priest. So you can an outsider cannot come inside to become a priest. You must go through that Catholic religious activities, going through the theological schools and going through training to become a priest. So for you to for so which is many churches in Africa, Catholic Church, so to speak, follow this pattern.
Yeah.
Yeah, you must be a priest before you lead. And most of all these priests, they go through a rigorous training and studies to, to finish and become a priest. But now, if you now look at it on some African churches, they have a family ministries founded by a powerful religious family. So the father, grandfather, the great great grandfather is a leader, and he passes it down to the father, and the father passes it down to the son, and the son now is in charge, and the son will also looking forward to pass it down to his own child. Are you
So
getting
are
my
we
point?
saying are we saying it shouldn't be like that?
No, I'm just giving you a history context. I'm just giving you an history what is happening, and it's still
Hmm.
happening today.
Hmm.
Yeah, children raised in ministry homes are exposed to spiritual leadership. So some of them, when they are raised through that channel, when they grow up, they will become parcel and parcel of that uh, uh, leadership, and from there they will inherit that. So it's often naturally they are taking up ministry roles. You see some of
Yeah.
them who will go and study in university. When they finish, they will still come back, and the parents said, God, this is what God called us to do. God called us to. Have you not heard about a parent telling the child, God called us to do this and we must do it, and they will continue doing it as a family unit. They
Yeah,
don't
I've heard
separate
it.
it.
I've heard it many times, but I cannot say it's. I cannot associate it to calling. I think it's just an individual decision that is being made for them to continue that legacy. So I wouldn't associate it to a family calling or a calling per se. But I can understand why most people do that. It's just to keep the legacy, as we did mention. If we're associating it to like a royal family, where they have to induct the family members into it and pass it on to generation, we can associate that to a business. If you have a family business that you're running and you want to create an empire, would you rather bring an outsider to come and run the business, family business for you, or would you rather train your kids or your family members to run that business?
So your point now, you're saying, so what I'm saying now is a business. They're doing business. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying you're doing business, but I'm just saying.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So, so
No,
the so so so
I'm just trying
so
to come from
this
that
family
angle and
dynasties.
give
So
you
this
that
family
analogy.
dynasties.
No, I'm
Yeah.
just trying to come from that point to give you that
Okay.
analogy of if if we are looking at it as from the business point of things, if you're running a business, a family business, so-called a family business, would you bring an outsider to continue that legacy for you and to continue building it, or would you rather employ your own family members to do
Well,
it?
if you're looking at it from business point of view, there are some certain extent you might bring an outsider, depending if you want the business to grow in a very dynamic way. Because visions, family running things in a particular way for generation from generation, there might be some gaps that you need an expertise to come in and
To
develop.
come and fill, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, and that's certain, and in that premises, you cannot decide to say, okay, you know what, this our next year, we need to employ this certain person to come and develop. So this is where an outsider will come in and be part of the family. But the point I'm trying to say here is, I think I'm going to agree with you on this aspect. Um, Calling is not a family thing; it's an individual thing. It's an individual thing because one, if you look at it from if you look at it on one angle, ministry run by families, they tend to gain more respect, yes, authority within the community, but they get to control. They get to control, they get to dominate, they get to be obsessed. And when
Mm.
things go wrong, you might not even know when things go wrong. They cover a lot of stuff. You don't know what is going on.
Control and obsession is the word that you've just used, and I that summarized everything for me. It's all a sign of control and getting obsessed with what is going on. So yeah,
Because
that plays a role.
yeah, because if you look at family-based ministry can lead to corruption and nepotism. Corruption, which is so when ministry is treated as a family business, it's often result in abuse of power and
Mm.
entitlement. You see,
But ministry nowadays is always been associated to a business. That's what I see. What else do you see? Because we have a lot of ministers that don't have probably they have a profession but probably don't use or practice that profession, and they've dedicated their time and life and everything just to the ministry. Is that also the right way to build a legacy?
okay, let me give you a live practical example. I know if this my friend happened to watch this, it will be mad at me, but let me say it, and I'm not going to mention name. I have a friend who wake up one day and tell me that God called him into ministry. Yeah,
Yeah.
I congratulate him. I wish him all the best, and I said, well, if God called you, I mean, you just have to listen to the voice of God. The wife is a senior. The wife is a senior midwifery in the hospital. Well sophisticated, well paid in her profession. 6 months down the line, the wife resigned, and
they
I
must they
used
must be making some good money from the ministry.
no, okay, no, wait. Let me finish here. So now, when they open the ministry and everything, I tend to go there once in a while to support them. To just to support
Mm,
them, go there and support them. Sometimes sometimes I go there to support them in setting up the technical equipment and everything, setting up the IT stuff. Support them,
mm.
and once in a while I go there. So and people they start making content, start so doing the work. I was supporting them. So uh, I think within 1 year, the wife resigned and joined the husband full time. They're doing it full time. And when they're doing it full time, then the following year, the guy was stressed out. So was stressed out. It was, the program. People work when you live in the Western world. People work Monday to Monday. People work Sunday to Sunday, back to back.
Yeah.
It now depends on the kind of shift you work. Some people work Monday to Friday, some people work Sunday to Sunday. So it depends. So we have continental shift pattern in this kind of Western world. So now you've stopped. The guy is a security officer. You've left your security firm. You've closed it down. You focus on your ministry. Your wife left a well-paid, fantastic job and pay. Left to resign and join the ministry. And 1 year down the line, you're financially struggling. And now you now come up with a strategy of having a program every evening. Every evening, there's a program on Monday, program on Tuesday. So they will come up with different sort of name. So and now ask myself, these people attend this program, do not have life, they don't have anything to do.
So was that created just to raise money for their financial needs,
One,
or
I
was it great?
initially see when the church started, they don't have evening program all the time. It's just maybe midweek Wednesday service, yeah, and Sunday service, and Friday Bible study, which is once in a while, yeah. And I try to support him as much as possible. I try to convince, but I try to support him. That midweek service, I attend once in a while. Then the Friday Bible study, I attend that one because it's Bible. I want to know more. Sunday service, I have my own place I worship, so I support once in a while, right? So now the point is, I'm trying to support his vision, but I cannot support his vision on my own detriment.
Hmm.
If I have a project I'm running, I went to work, comes back on Monday evening. I have a project I'm doing. I have kids to pick up. For goodness sake, I cannot do stuff. I have to focus on my own investment, my own development. So if I have
Definitely.
something doing, that's what I'm going to do. Now, when this guy all of a sudden he start having programs, when I start having programs Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I'll call him on the well, I cannot call him on the phone. I say, bro, this program you are having, who will attend? Because sometimes you have empty seats. People are busy working, they have challenges, they have bills to pay. Having programs every day, to me, but is killing, is overkilling, right? So
Yeah.
this program came up after he complained to me he's struggling financially to to pay. So in my head, when he said that, I said, but why did your wife? So I summoned the courier and I said, but why did your wife have to leave her job and join you? She can still join you and still be doing her job. All she need to do is reduce her shift pattern, reduce her hours, and focus and be doing that. He said, but they cannot serve two masters. I said, really? I said, really? You cannot serve two masters. But if this church become a mega church now, you will have other branches, you will have other businesses to support this church, and you will run it effectively. Why
And
can't
that's
your
not
wife?
serving two masters.
So that one is not two masters; it's two one masters. So this is where both of us. This is where both of us start having disagreement. And he now came up with this type of a thing, started a thing, and I told him. So we had this conversation, 1 hour, not 1 hour, 2 hours conversation. We sat down, we read the Bible, and I told him frankly, so let me tell you, paying tithe is option, it's a choice. You can't force anybody to pay tithe. So this is where we both of us fell out.
Yeah, but the tithe is always being forced on church members
Yeah,
because
but do
I've been to
members do
I've been to
members do
churches where
do members see it that way? Members don't see it that way. They don't see it that way. They don't
no,
see it.
some
So
do, some
so,
do,
so
some do.
this is the repercussion. This is the repercussion whereby God, you can serve God with your capacity. You can serve God with your talent. You can serve God with your gift. You can serve God with whatever you do, even your job, wherever you are. You can win souls. You can convert. You don't need to preach in your workplace. You don't need to carry Bible, but your lifestyle, what comes from your mouth, your lifestyle, the way you do things diligently, confidently, righteously, religiously, people will come to emulate. People will want to come to know you, and you by your lifestyle, you will start bringing people closer to God. You don't
Yeah,
need to leave your profession. So the poor wife left a profession where she earns good money. The money she earned, her wages could literally pay the rent, pay the bills, pay everything. She left it and joined the young join him into ministry that you're not even sure, because if God called you, Mr. Andrew, if God called you, God will provide a way out. You have to be patient and go through the process, and God will make a way for you. You cannot just come up with strategy and come up. So this is just a typical example of what is happening in the ministry today.
hmm. Yeah,
You see, that is the problem. Going back to this. So call to ministry, I see it is a personal, not an inheritance. The Bible shows that God calls individuals, not families, into ministry. Let's take, for example, you look at Abraham, Moses, Paul, Jesus himself. We are individually called, not because of their family background. Remember, God had a encounter with Joseph, Jesus' father, his earthly father, Joseph and Mary. Yeah, he
yeah.
selected that family, but because of the divine selection, he did not say, okay, Joseph, come and do the work of Jesus. Mary, oh yeah, come and do the work of Jesus. But the son was selected. If
Yeah.
ministry, if ministry were a family-based calling, then Jesus would have been a carpenter, like the Joseph. Yeah, he will have been a carpenter and also be preaching. But what did he do? God, Jesus was a representation of God here on earth. So in other words, God used him as an individual to deliver the word. He did not say, Joseph and Mary, join me. He did not say Joseph and Mary should join me. So
Yeah.
he used him for that purpose alone. That is what he did. So if you look at it from the from spiritual gift and personal relationship with God, ministry is based on individual, because if you look at it is based on individual gift, anointing, and spiritual conviction, and bloodline as well. Because one, that this is why we are having a
Did
lot
you
of,
just say bloodline? So is
no,
the
not
calling?
bloodline. That's what I meant, not bloodline. So
Oh, not oh,
ministry,
okay.
so ministry is
I,
based
I
on,
thought you said bloodline.
no,
So I
no,
was
no,
gonna.
no.
Is it a
Let me
DNA thing?
no, let me repeat myself to give some clarity to my viewers.
Hmm.
Ministry is based on individual gift, anointing, and spiritual conviction, not bloodline.
Not
Not
bloodline. Oh,
bloodline. So the bloodline, this is the bloodline is manipulation, is nepotism, is corruption, is control, is excessiveness of obsession.
yeah. So when it comes to the calling itself, how can me and you determine whether this person has been called or not? How
You
can
see,
we how can we say that, and how can we
you see,
determine that? Because
you see.
if we are saying it's personal, if we are saying it's personal, for example, me and you sitting here now, if I come to you and I tell you I've been called to be a minister, and I start demonstrating and showing those signs of being a minister, how would you know I've been called or not?
You see you see the book of Ephesians 4 11 12. It states that God gives different gift. Yeah.
Hmm,
So that different gift to individuals for the work of ministry. Some are apostles, some are prophets, some are evangelists, some are pastors, some are teachers. You see all these angles. So
hmm.
if you say God called you, you must fall in line with one of these two ministry, one of this calling. And now what you need to do, you now begin to harness, you now begin to harness that area. Because one, when God called you, God does not call you to be a finished article. Does not call you to be, it doesn't call you to be a perfect person. You must, there will always be a work in progress that you need to do. So a person into ministry. So that's why if you look at people that said ministry is a family, no. You might born into a ministry family, yeah, but spiritual calling, or but you might not have the spiritual calling or capacity to lead. Are you getting
Hmm.
my point? You might
Yeah.
born into a ministry family. Your dad might be a GO. Your mother might be assistant GO. You are born in there, but you don't have the capacity to lead
Yeah,
completely
but I
all
still
the way.
want to understand, and I think some of the viewers will probably have that at the back of their mind too. How can you determine whether somebody has been called for true or have that calling? How can you determine that? Is it
Well,
from the way? Is it from the way they portray themselves? Is it from the way? How can you determine? Because
you know,
if you tell me, for example, when Jesus said he's been called or he's the Messiah, his own people doubted him because they knew him from his childhood. They knew him. Do you get where I'm coming from? They
yeah,
knew him
yeah.
from his childhood, so they doubted it that he's a true Messiah. But he had that encounter. Now, for our viewers, and for myself to get a bit more clarity, how can you determine somebody is called? If,
You
for
see,
example, if you know that person personally and you know their background, you know their secrets, you know what they've done with you, you know a bit of their history, and they come to you and they said, I've been called. How can you determine to know whether it's true or not?
you see. First of all, you see, calling is a personal conviction. Yeah, is a personal conviction. Is a deep, persistent inner conviction. Take for example, when you are growing up, there are certain things that you really, God created us in a different and wire us differently and give us capabilities and wire us in such a way that when we have this conviction, nothing will stop us. Nothing. There's nothing anybody will do. So now, first of all, how would you know the person is called? Now, I've read the book of Ephesians 4:11-12 says. We
And that
are called
tells you,
so we
that
are
gives
called
you.
differently. We are called differently. So some
Mm,
are called to be a prophet. Prophet in the sense someone might have the spirit of discernment, someone who can see tomorrow or who can see what God has told him, a kind of a visionary. Yeah.
mm,
So you have an evangelist, someone who can bring people together. You have a pastor who can groom people. You have a teacher who can teach the word, right? Who can, when the
yes.
person pick up the Bible, when you read and preach to you, you will say, "Wow!" You will really understand the person. So now, how would you know? Is a deeper is a deeper persistence and inner conviction. It's only you that you have that conviction. You have a strong purpose that
No, but
keeps you drawing
if we're
you.
talking about only you would know, I'm talking about somebody outside you. How
Yeah,
can they determine and know that
then
you
we see
are? Because
consistency,
before
consistency, consistency,
consistency.
consistency. Because when you have a purpose, you regardless of what your friend says, regardless of what your wife or your friends or colleagues or neighbors says, you continue following that path.
So
If you
so
fo- if so that passion, see, passion for serving others is a spiritual thing. You will see that person engaging in helping people, engaging in doing that thing that has been rooted into him. So that person will do that. You will see the conviction. You will
mm,
see it. You will see the person, the lifestyle, how the person does things, how he do. So you will
that
see the
one there, me, I don't see it though, because
maybe probably you are looking at the wrong way. You are looking at the
I,
wrong way
I don't
because
see it though,
you are looking at the
because
wrong way because yeah,
people can act. The people are very good actors. And in life, we are all actors in life. Everybody acts in life, but
you see,
some people are very good actors.
yeah, but you see,
So,
you cannot be actor for 1 year. You cannot act that for 1 year and 2 years. At some point, you will know that this person is real, and also people around will confirm. Holy Spirit will go and minister those key people in that person's life, like mentor, yeah, like
so,
mentor, like
the
church leaders, like father or mother. Holy Spirit will go and minister to them. God will give them
yeah.
a vision, say this person have been called, this so person, so that person will affirmation from a leader of a family or someone who also listens. So you are just looking mainly with your physical eye because your spiritual eye is blind. You cannot see. You cannot see. You are merely looking at that person because you knew that person. This person
Hmm,
that used to go to club with me, this person that I always lie, all of a sudden is
hmm,
changed. So you are
it's
still
changed.
seeing that person. You are still seeing that person without your physical eye. So even though if God has given you some vision to say, Andrew, this person, I call this person, I want you to support his growth, you will not still believe because you are still looking at it with your naked eye.
Hmm. So for our viewers to understand this, because this is a major problem that we have in Africa. There's more churches than
Exactly,
than industries.
exactly,
And
exactly.
and the funny thing is, everybody runs to the church with their problems or when they have troubles in their lives. And these same people have been robbed and being lied to by most of these ministers that we say they've been called. And some have been doing it for probably 3 years, 4 years, 5 years before they finally realize that, oh, they've been scammed. But they still go back again to the next one that arises. So
Yeah,
I want
yeah,
to understand.
you see, I just wish my friend is here to give more substantial evidence. Who substantial evidence? My friend Shego. I wish he's here to give substantial evidence. So the point I'm trying to make here is this: people, the only thing Africa can offer to its citizen now is religion, and that's why people are living in denial. Yeah, people are living in denial. People are living in paranoia and naiveness. Yeah, and people are living in lack of knowledge. You just said a fantastic point you just raised now. Someone will rob them and do all sort of things, and they will also go back to the same group of people because this person have. So what Africa, what we are looking, you because you don't blame them when the government is not feeling providing the needs. The only solution is the men of God, the pastors, the religious leaders. This is where they find their refuge. This is where they find their hope. The only thing Africa live upon is only hope, 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 hope. And unfortunately, the people that give them hope are the people that rip them apart. The same, the same pastor. So when you see someone who has lost hope in the whole system, what do you expect? You go to the pastor, even though he or she knows the pastor does not have anything to help him or her, they will still go just because what they will say, what they will come out from their mouth. Have you been to a church? Have you been to a church
So
whereby you will
how
sit you will sit in a church for 1 hour, the pastor will just to only read one verse in the Bible and speak for 1 hour. That 1 hour, 15 minutes he'll be speaking, is just encharming you. It's just charming you with words. And before you know it, your pocket will dry at the end of the day. It's charming you with the
so
words.
the question still remain, how can you identify? And you've mentioned a few things. Consistency i-
Consistency.
is the one is the one that got my attention. But I still ask question on consistency. These same people that I'm talking about that have been portraying themselves to be so-called priests or pastors, majority of them have been consistent with what they are doing
Yep.
until they get caught up or until something happens. And some of them do come out and also say they are human beings, they are not perfect. What do you expect?
Of course, you see, let me tell you one from the let me tell you
And they
one
talk
let me
about
tell you.
they are not God. I mean, they are human beings. They make mistakes. So if they've made a mistake, that's just the human in them, and they still try and clear off whatever they've done wrong and still continue. So how can you know, or how would you know that this person is a true caller of God to do
So
God's work?
so you see,
That thing just puzzles not just myself, but I'm sure it puzzles a lot of our viewers, and they'll still be asking questions because it's a big problem in Africa as we speak.
I've mentioned, see, I've see, one thing you have to understand is, yes, the person might be consistent, but the formidable truth, the fat truth is human beings fall apart at some point. We are all, as long we are living in this world, with this on this planet, with this body we are wearing that we
Hmm.
call body, we will all fall short of glory. We will always fall apart. We will always fall astray. That's number one truth. So get it in your head that we will always make mistake. We will always fall apart, regardless. So that's why my opinions to stand until Jesus Christ will come. We will always be working hard to be like him. We can never be like him. We can never. However, how many big mega churches and miracles, raising human being from dead, any all the things you performed, nobody can be perfect. We will always be working towards perfection. So the point I'm trying to make here is this: as long as human being lies, we human being will lie. It's our nature to lie. It's our nature to make mistake. It's our nature to deceive. It's our nature to do all sort of immoralities. That is human being for you. But the fact I'm trying to make you, however, as much as that person is consistent, the person will only fall apart at some point. That's what the Bible says, falling short of glory. We make mistake, we confess. If you read the Bible critically, you'll find that Paul at some point, Peter at some point, James, all the disciples, is it Moses? Moses was the hero in his time, but at some point he fall apart. Abraham fall apart. Moses, Solomon. These are our forefathers. These are our early forefathers. They're all full of. There's no perfection. So
So
when
should
somebody started consistent at some point it fall apart. The most important question now is, when he or she fall apart, did he or she recognize it that they fall apart and pick up where they stop and recalibrate themselves and start all over again, or do they continue to fall apart until they disintegrate completely?
Hmm.
So now, going back to your question, when you are called, apart from being consistency, you will see the open doors, you will see opportunities, you will see how God will be aligning that person's footsteps. Before you know it, the person starts speaking on the podium. Before you know it, the person starts going to church event. He start speaking. He start going to different programs. He start getting involved. You will not stop that person. God will ordain. So because this is the purpose of God. This is what God called that person for. That person will begin to align is the purpose of God in his life. So in lifestyle, everything the person will be doing will be following in line with. So before you know it, the person will become a pastor or a
Hmm.
minister. So that is alignment. But now falling aside is normal. That's why even Paul in one of his episodes says, "I fight a good fight. I've done everything. I'm now leave the rest." So now the point I'm trying to make here, ministry is based on individual gift.
Yeah.
It's never I stand to be corrected, which I know that my viewers out there will still believe with me. It stand I stand to be correct. Ministry is when ministry is treated as a family business, is often abuse of power. You abuse of
Hmm.
power. If ministry we are family, for example, some um, some of the most influential ministers in Africa, such as Bishop Oyedepo, uh, uh, late Prophet TB Joshua, and Pastor Paul uh, Enoch, and Noche, we are not from ministerial families, but had personal encounter with God. So these people I just mentioned had a personal encounter with God, and then went and they ran with the vision. And today the church is big.
Hmm.
Yeah. So the church grows stronger when leadership is open to anyone truly called by God, rather than limiting it to family. That's how the church grew. I cannot have Alex evangelistic mission. That I will now be a pastor. My wife will leave her profession. She will join me. All of a sudden, God called my wife as well. She will leave her profession. She will join. Then my children will finish. They will maybe this person is good with IT. I will pull him away from IT. He'll come and join my ministry. My daughter is good at being a medical doctor. I will pull her away. She'll come and do my ministry. These are the gift and talent God has deposited in them. You are pulling that away, dragging them to join the midst because you want them to take over your legacy. So the church has become your legacy. So 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 from if you look at the biblical perspective, the Bible present us both examples. So for in terms of heredity, inheritance, individual callings, while the Old Testament highlights about family-based priesthood, but the New Testament emphasize. So what now emphasize on individual calling, which is Paul, Peter, Timothy. So today, are we living with Old Testament or are we living with New Testament?
Yeah.
So which one should we? For me, I'm going for New Testament. I don't really care much about what happened in Old Testament. My emphasis is New Testament. What does Jesus say? Does Jesus say, if I called you my son, your wife should follow, your children should follow? I didn't see where Jesus Christ said
Say
that.
that. Hmm.
So most of all this calling, it's just like a pastor, a pastor. It's just like let me give you an answer, Andrew. You are a pilot, and your wife is you're a pilot, and you now open a pilot school, and all of a sudden your wife join you. Is she going to join you as a pilot or is she going to join you as administrator?
It depends.
So now, but is she going to join you automatically as a pilot? Will
No,
she?
no, no,
Of course, of course.
no.
You see, so all these makeup stories, all these uh, makeup story, makeup stories about child, father, sons, and wife coming together having a ministry. It's just a man-made. It's a man-made.
Mm.
It's a man-made.
But everything is man-made, though.
Because when you look at when if you look at the practical implications of the man-made, a family-based approach can, one, it will ensure stability, but on the long run, it will lead to corruption and exclusions of genuine leaders. It will be exclusions. You will see genuine leaders God has called into that ministry, but
Mm.
because of the family inheritance family, they will not be able to have the opportunity to serve God genuinely because they're not given the opportunity.
Yeah, yeah.
I've been to a ministry whereby the pastor and the wife don't go for holidays. If they want to go for holidays, the wife will go first with the children and come back. Then the husband will go later. They don't leave the church as a whole because they are not confident who to manage the church. So the
To
family
live,
church is a family thing.
yeah, yeah. This is
So
very interesting.
yeah, so my viewers, I don't know what you think. I don't know what your view is, but I still believe that African religions' future depends on allowing God to call us individual, regardless of our family background. I still believe allowing God, the one of the way to make Africa grow, to integrate into a modern society today, is to calling to be an individual thing. There's a lot of skills, a lot of ideas. I believe if God called me, if I want my wife to support me, my wife will support me in the capacity she can and pursue a career. Because
Definitely.
this is where the challenges is when the wife leaves because your challenges has not changed. You still remain the way it is.
Yeah.
If you have bills to pay and all sort of things to do with money, to look after the kids, to look after the kids, to pay the kids tuition fees and everything, and your wife is earning your earning, you've left your own earning and focus on serving God. Your wife joining you is to support, not to live her full life depends on that ministry. This is where the problem is. This is where the whole challenges and the whole stress and the whole demand and the whole strategy way of making people and come up with different ways of collecting money from people. And this is where the whole problem is coming from.
Yeah.
Because
I, I
this the same people that claim that the wife or vice versa, the husband, whoever God called, if God called the wife, the husband has to leave whatever he's doing and join. And these same people will say you cannot serve two masters. But at some point, when the church start growing, they will serve the same two masters because the church will grow, and before you know it, the church will open schools, will open universities, will open hospitals, will open business centers, and they will still be managing everything by themselves.
so when they say you cannot serve two masters, do they mean you cannot be doing serving God and also running a business?
So it's a hypocritical statement. I find it
Mm.
as a hypocrite. So
Mm.
you are saying because it's not convenience for you. It's not convenience for you because it's not confidence for because you can still be a pastor and still be practicing your profession.
Oh
You
yeah,
can
you can merge the two,
a medical
but that
doctor
that is also
yeah,
an individual choice.
a medical doctor can still be a medical doctor and and also be a pastor.
Yeah, but that's also an individual choice because
Of course,
you can
it's individual
decide to do
choice.
that, or you can decide to just dedicate your time to just be a full-time minister.
So
Yeah, I
it's
don't.
individual choice. It's individual choice, and I will not. It's individual choice, and I don't see it. I don't see anything wrong in doing that.
Yeah,
The Bible to not condemn, the Bible to not condemn that because if you remember, our forefathers, Paul, Peter, Timothy. Paul was a businessman. They were all. Paul was an author, was a writer, was a lawyer. I was still doing the things of God.
yeah, 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 yeah,
They
yeah.
were all combining everything, doing
Mm.
things simultaneously, doing this. So why can't we emulate that? If you want to, you will find out that today people select what is convenient for them and do what is convenient for them and do the otherwise.
Of course, everyone does that. I always say that. That's my saying every time that whatever works for you is what you do. Oh
So
yes.
yeah, so you're seeing from the other angle that for us to grow while ensuring that ministry families prove their spiritual worth rather than inheritance. For us to grow as an Africa, we need to really see it from the angle of ministry are called as individual. Ministry
mm,
are called as individual, not not a
a
family
family
thing.
calling. Yeah. Mm.
So, Andrew, give us a final submission and probably wrap up this up.
Yeah. So I do agree with you on a lot of things that you've said. But the truth of the matter is, my questions still remain. How do you determine whether somebody have the true calling or not? But I also believe you go with your instincts as well. And as you said, your spiritual eye, if your spiritual eye is open, you will definitely know whether the person is being called or just acting up. So, to my viewers, I think we all need to pay attention, very good attention, and not just to conform to our surroundings. We always need to have a mind of our own and do our own research and do our own investigation and not to conform. So, thank you so much for joining us today. And we hope to see you again soon for our next conversation.